I did survive the flu. Oh God, this lighting is so poor. I'm going back to Carson City to get the rest of my stuff this weekend. Hold on just a second. Let me turn this other light on because I need to get my ring camera. Ah, that's better. Oh, okay. So, anyways, I did not do a Friday Night Live this past Friday because your girl is exhausted. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to come on here because I happened to catch. So this is just a special edition of Diva Disturbed on a Monday. I mean, what else are you gonna do, right? Join me, talk to me. Um, but when I was a teenager and in my young adulthood, I had a major crush on David Justice, MLB player. When I was in college, it was him, Grant Hill, Chris Webber, and Jason Kidd. Those mostly basketball players, but I was in love with like David Justice, right? And then on top of that, when he married Halle Berry, I was like, oh, she done stole my man. Okay, she done stole my man. And I still remember, I think it was Essence or Ebony where they were on the cover and they looked so in love. And, the marriage lasted 4 years, but who knows how long it really lasted because people do take their time getting a divorce. Well, David is in the news now for some comments that he made on Matt Barnes, excuse me, podcast All the Smoke. Now, first of all, let me say this. Podcasters will ask certain questions, and if the individual being interviewed feels so led, they will answer. And I watched it. I also read the transcript just to make sure I understood. And I think that a lot of you are really giving David a harder time than he needs. And yes, I am biased. I do know him. So we've never met in person, but I used to do some work for him back in the day. And he's actually a very nice guy, very easy to work with, very easy to get along with. So that I will say in David Justice's defense, not just because I had a crush on him. But can you imagine working with your crush at some point in your life? Amazing. But basically, he said the reason why him and Halle Berry's marriage did not work out is essentially because, number one, he said they'd only been together 5 months when she proposed to him. Now, I know some of y'all like women can do it all, whatever. But, and they'd only been together 5 months. Now, sometimes you do know that when you meet the love of your life, that this is it for me. And people have done that, and the marriages have lasted till the end of time, damn near. But he realized as the marriage progressed that this ain't working. Okay. Number one, Halle Berry was a working actress, and in the mid 90s, the early 90s, she was that girl. She was on everything. Hell, if Halle Berry was in the movie, I was gonna watch it, okay? And so he said that, he couldn't see her as the mother of his children because she's not domestic, basically. He said she wasn't cooking and cleaning. But that's because that's how he was raised, okay? He obviously was raised in a home where his mom did a lot of the housework and his dad brought home the bread. I don't know. I wasn't trying to get to know what I thought was going to be my future in-laws, so I don't know what they did. Maybe I should look that up. What did David Justice's parents do? But either way, Halle Berry and him got married, but I don't think they really knew each other, and they never really got an opportunity to grow as a couple. And I think that his comments were very mature considering. Because he said, I think we could have made it, but for the fact we weren't aware of counseling. Okay? And I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, especially in the black community. Some of us, I've been asked some of the silliest questions about, oh, you're in therapy, you see a therapist. Um, and it's just like, yeah, yeah, I'm in therapy because number one, I am a work in progress. So I thought that was very mature of him to state that, I think we could have made it. And then he also realized that she really did love him and he hurt her. But he didn't want to hurt her in the beginning. Um, some of y'all just come on here, you little trolls, to just make ignorant ass comments. Get off my live because I will start blocking folk with no problem. Okay, there we go. Um, so I thought that was very mature of him because, like I said, uh, he realized she loved him, and it didn't work out, and so they went their separate ways. He ended up meeting a woman named Rebecca who birthed him three children and catered to all of his needs. Um, and it worked for them. And I know from Celebrity Wife Swap because they had a nice compound down there in San Diego, and they have three children, and her parents were living with them, um, and helping her because he was the king of the castle. At least that's what they portrayed on Wife Swap. Um, but it was just the comments were very interesting and I thought they were mature. And another thing that hurt David Justice, and another thing that I've been saying for years too in his defense, is that people keep speculating when Halle Berry said that somebody knocked her hearing out, right? People always think that it's David Justice, and he didn't hurt her. He's denied it emphatically for years. And personally, from what I've heard in the rumor mill in Hollywood, what has always been understood is that her abuser was not David Justice. It has been alleged, and I don't have facts. And notice I'm prefacing it with alleged because I ain't got nothing to give you, baby. Diva starting over. Y'all know I've been unemployed for over a year, just got a job. Hey, this is week 5. Um, Memes for you. Who are you talking about? David Justice and Halle Berry. Check it out. Look it up. Google it. Catch it on the playback way back. So he realizes he hurt her. He thinks that their marriage could have made it, right? So, but people are like, oh, he's so sexist. Well, he told you, if you had listened to the rest of what he was saying, that's all he knew growing up. You know, when you grow up, like for instance, and I don't talk about this often, but many, many moons ago, in my early 20s, I ended up in a domestic violent relationship. Guess who had never been exposed to some shit like that before between either set of parents? Because I have parents and my step parents, right? Never seen and never experienced some shit like that before, right? It was wild. So if you've grown up in something and you don't understand any other way, and he even said this was his second relationship that he had been in. But I really feel like people weren't listening to what he was saying. And so they just automatically just said, oh my God. And I'm like, David, maybe you should have skirted that, because we live in an age right now, and that's a whole other subject to talk about, but people do not take time to listen. They do not take time to comprehend. It's just the first emotion they feel, they just jump off and go off about it. It's like, if you had taken time to listen to David Justice, you would have understood. I think there may be some resentment there. I don't know. But we all know that Halle Berry is happy with my other friend, Mr. Van Hunt himself, honey. One of my favorite artists, independent artists. And life is going on. It's great. So, I just feel like y'all gave my man a really hard time, because, David said what he said. Okay. And I don't think there was really any collateral damage or harm done. I think that he was just expressing himself. The question was asked and he answered it. And he answered it from his perspective, from his upbringing, from what he understood from, let's see, what was that? Almost 30 years ago. Well, 28 years ago? Yeah, 28 years ago. So it's like, or is it 30? Oh shit, it was over 30 years ago because I graduated in class of 95. They were married from 93 to 97. Okay. So either way, I don't know who this is. And yeah, I just felt like y'all really just snowball him. It's just like the commentary, when people express themselves, people immediately want to jump on them. Now, some shit do need to stay in the dark because some of y'all on this internet and social media platforms just be sharing entirely too much. Okay, um, but this I thought it needed to have a conversation, and he did express how hurt he was that Halle Berry never bothered to uh, speak up about whether he was the one who assaulted her and caused her to lose hearing. But like I said, it's been alleged for many, many years that the probability is that it was Wesley Snipes. And I heard that Wesley Snipes was not a very nice dude back in the day. I don't know if prison changed him and humbled him, but that's what I heard. I don't know. And, we lived in a time um, back in the 90s when we didn't record nothing. News and gossip didn't travel as fast. You had to wait for that weekly paper to learn anything, and by then it's old news. So yeah. But either way, I just wanted to speak up, uh, to kind of give a different perspective from David Justice. Could he have said it a little different, expressed himself differently? Possibly. But I think it was just as plain as vanilla yogurt. He basically laid it out that she asked him to marry him, but then he realized this is not someone I could spend my life with. But I'm glad that when he went on Celebrity Wife Swap, Lord, this person is having a whole conversation, and I don't know what he's talking about. It's not even relevant to the topic. Homie Joe. But I think that if people look, it was 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. Let it go. He was just telling. The question was asked. He answered it. Let it be that. Another person that I really don't know how to feel. Um, okay, so there is someone, and I'm just going to share this because uh, somebody said when I was locked up, I would wait at least 10 days before I did something like that. And then he said something about an undead princess. You give some details about how it happened. And then he said, I'm talking about being raped in prison. You got your salad tossed. Is that what you want to talk about? You need that much attention. Either way, but y'all don't be so hard on my boy David. And yes, that man still look good. And again, when I worked with him, he was very respectful to me, and I worked closely with him for I think over a year, helping him with some stuff. Um, but Ari Lennox recently made some comments about how watching Martin made her uncomfortable with the commentary he made to Tashina Arnold's character, uh, Pam. Now, back in the day, we all laughed. Now, I'm not going to lie. I personally don't watch Martin like that anymore simply because when I started watching it, the reruns, I was like, oh my God, he was such an asshole. Like, who talks to their friends like that? Like, it was funny, but then it wasn't funny. But then what Ari did is that she is of a darker hue, a black girl, and her own insecurities came out due to the commentary. Um, Bitty B and all this stuff. But I'm like, they all, and like those of us who have not experienced that, our immediate reaction was, girl, go to therapy. But then I had to think about it. That's her experience. It probably did bring out some trauma. There are things that come up for me. I was just telling someone recently, I said, the 2 years I spent, my seventh and eighth grade year in junior high, were the worst. Okay. It was just like unbelievable. And junior high is always that period of time when kids are just cruel. And then when you get to high school, it's like it never happened, right? And so I just, with Ari Lennox, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I feel like if it disturbed you that much, go to counseling. And I remember one of my best friends and I, and my sorority sister, we talked about this too. Um, she talked about, because we weren't light and we weren't dark. We were just in the middle. We were the brown, little brown skin, Sienna brown, whatever you want to call it out of the 64 colors, right? And I didn't get teased for that. I got teased for everything else. Like I got teased for I got teased for being tall with acne. Okay. Because of how I talked. Y'all know I grew up in Texas, but I went to school before junior high with predominantly white children, and we spoke valley, and it was like, but when I got to junior high I was so excited. We're at the Science Academy, and it was a bunch of black kids, and I was excited because the only time I really saw other black children was in my family and at church, of course. And yeah, kids are cruel, and it does have an effect on you. I remember many, many years I went without smiling for years because my gap was much bigger than it is now because I've had dental work done, and I have to have it done again too because I didn't use my retainer on my bottom plate like I was supposed to, and now my jaw is clicking and it's a mess. But either way, for years I wouldn't smile. All of my photos for the longest were like this because I didn't want to show my teeth because people had made fun of me for having a gap. People had made fun of me for having, bad acne. I was called an Oreo because of how I talked. I was called giraffe because I was tall and my skin was bad. It was just a bunch of stuff. So I can understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, I also feel like, it was for that time. And I feel really bad for the generation that came in behind me because yeah, our generation probably, Gen X probably was a little toxic, but I think our skins are thicker and we're able to take things. We really don't take a lot of things seriously. I remember when Girlfriends dropped on Netflix, people were talking about how toxic it was and needs to be pulled. But of course, guess who generation it was not? It was not Gen X talking about that. But with Ari Lennox, I can understand where she's coming from. Uh, you know, for the life of me, I don't understand why our community. You right, newer generations are soft. They are, and I'll probably get roasted for that, but it's true. There's a lot of stuff. The hell we survived, and we have survival skills. We do. We are very independent. Independence was fostered. We didn't have a choice because in the 70s and early 80s, all of our parents were in the workforce. So we kind of didn't have a choice but to be independent. And, also just take it. So somebody, Melissa said, I've been trying to follow her for the last 5 minutes. Well, first of all, the first topic we were talking about, the David Justice podcast commentary, number one. So I'll help you out. Number two, we are talking about another interview that happened with R&B singer Ari Lennox, where she talks about how she felt as though Martin and his comments, if you didn't watch the comedy series Martin, then you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, so somebody got on here, Melissa, and was talking about, I guess they felt like my live stream was the appropriate time to talk about their time in prison and getting their salad tossed and being raped, and how It's not gay if you're in prison. I don't know, but I blocked that person from my channel. I don't know what it is about when you go YouTube live, you get a lot of bots or just crazy people that are looking for attention. So that's what that was about. I don't know. I was just reading the comments. That's what I was doing. And I guess it was an American Me moment. And if you ain't seen that movie, I wouldn't suggest watching it, but you know, we watched it. Yes, I was just repeating what he was saying in his commentary, Melissa. Yes, but and thank you for joining the live stream. So yeah, Ari Lennox, those comments, a lot of people, but we don't know what her experience and perspective is. So I just pray that she goes to get the counseling and just don't watch Martin. Okay, leave it alone, girl. You here's the thing, you're successful, we love your music, girl. It's in rotation. I really love that song, Hoodie. Ooh, can I get in that hoodie? I love that song. And does the guy who was talking about, oh Lord, Medina, don't start too, baby. Just, I don't know who it was. His name was Homie Joe. Y'all go find him. Okay. Let's see what else has happened this week. Oh, now I don't know. Let me look this up. So y'all know Diddy getting out of jail probably come October when the sentencing hearing occurs, right? So first of all, here's what has happened. So Al B. Sure had a deal with Simon Schuster, the publishing house, to publish a book about his life and time, not only in the music industry, but his relationship with Kim Porter, as well as the truth about him and Diddy's relationship, right? And all of a sudden, Simon Schuster has pulled it. I encouraged Al B. Sure in a comment to just, I don't know if he saw it, but I encouraged him to publish it um, independently of a publishing house. Because Amazon had the pre-order links up and everything, and they have completely taken it down. And I said, he ain't even out of prison yet, and he's already being a fastidious intermeddler already. He's already like, I got off and I'm coming for everybody. And then I just saw a headline, y'all, where they said that he was getting ready to sue for defamation. I'm like, but dude, there are tapes, there was testimony. You know, people got sworn in. Not saying that you can't suborn perjury and unknowingly suborn it, but I was like, he can't wait. Wants to sue for defamation. Okay, let's see what this is. Okay, so it says Diddy has filed a defamation lawsuit. Specifically, he is suing Courtney Burgess, a witness who claimed to have videos of Combs engaging in sexual acts with celebrities, including alleged assaults on minors. The lawsuit also names the parent company of News Nation, X-Star Media, for allegedly promoting Burgess's claims. I don't even know who Courtney Burgess is. I didn't really follow the trial. I wanted to, but honestly, I just was not in a good headspace, y'all. I was still jobless and trying to figure out how I was going to pay my bills. It's actually a good idea for people to talk about. Okay, well, you know what? If that's what y'all want to talk about, well, then y'all should put, oh, God, he's back. Oh, Jesus. How did he get back? Okay. Oh girl, I blocked him again. I don't know. I guess YouTube said we must listen to Joe. Bless his heart. Um so yeah, it's gonna be an interesting 2026. That's all I'm gonna say. Cause Diddy ass is getting out, and I'm scared for everybody who stood up to him. Um, he back again. Oh my! How do you keep getting in here? Joe, if you want to talk about, you know what? Inbox me. Um, my social media is pretty much the same across the board. You can inbox me and we can have a discussion about your prison experience. How about that? Because I feel as though therapeutically you need to get it out. Okay? Because you're on my social and you're talking about your American Me experience. And no, that would not turn me on. Okay, I'm not interested. I think that any type of assault, sexual or otherwise, is horrible. And I have sat through and listened to some of this stuff because when I was in law school, I clerked for the public defender's office. Not a pretty sight. I never dealt with capital commercials. It sounds like he got his taken memes for you. I don't know. But anyways, I'm getting ready to end this live. I will likely be back on Friday. He said he was the tossed salad man. Okay. Um, y'all, this is pure comedy, but I am a comedian too, so I don't take some of my people too seriously, but God bless him. Uh, I think he got taken first memes, and then after that, he became. You know how it happens. You get abused, then you become the abuser. I think that's what happened. So there's that. Jesus. This Joe, don't come back on here until you are ready to deal with your trauma. Okay. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get off of here. But again, please don't be too hard on my former crush, David Justice. And how it, and, I hope that, by him being able to tell his story after all these years, maybe it was good for him too. Okay. But again, I'm gonna get off here. There were other things I wanted to talk about, but it would appear that my live chat is being taken over by former inmates who want to tell their story. And perhaps on Friday Night Live, on the Diva Disturbed Friday Night Live, we will have homie Joe on to talk about his experiences. Other than that, I've been Miss Sophia the Diva. You all have a fabulous night. Good night.